Ah, yes. Ah, yes. What did I do? I went with a Colorado whiskey today for the desk. That's the trick. I don't think I've rotated in the Colorado whiskey. Although I did pick up some new bourbons on my journey that are going to have to appear on the counter and in my mouth. More importantly. Hey, everybody, welcome to Vince. This episode is brought to you by Blackout Coffee. That's right, Blackout Coffee is phenomenal. It's in my cup this morning. Check it out. blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. Blackout Coffee. Thank you to Blackout. Adam Schiff is, he's the guy that we're going to be talking about today. Also, James Comey. All of these guys, their histories, their pasts are catching up with them, and thank the good Lord. We won't have justice unless we see one of these guys in cuffs, and boy, they deserve it. So we'll talk about that. We've got a lot to get to on all of these new declassifications going on. You can thank the FBI for that. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino getting more information now for the rest of us. I've got the details on that coming up. Also, we're going to talk to Alex Marlow from over at Breitbart. We're going to do a deeper dive into some of these other Democrats who've been trying to destroy our republic, going after President Trump, including Letitia James, who's feeling the heat of a grand jury right now. There's quite a bit going on, and I'm feeling good about the state of our country right now as things are. Nature is healing, they say. Nature is very healing. Good to have you with us, as always. Before we barrel on with today's program, I do have to thank the sponsors who make it possible. And that includes Fast Growing Trees. I haven't mentioned Fast Growing Trees in a bit, and I'm glad I can tell you about them today. Fall is planting season, and you should plan ahead for it. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do better when they're planted this time of year? But you have to know where to start. And this is why I love fastgrowingtrees.com. It doesn't matter if you live in the sunny South or if the air is getting chilly where you are. Their plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They've got all the plants that your yard needs, like fruit trees and privacy trees and flowering trees, shrubs, so much more. Just order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Has there ever been a plant that you thought, man, that would look really good on my property? Or you drove past something and you thought, man, that's a great looking tree. Check to see if Fast Growing Trees has it, because chances are they do, and they can deliver it safely to your home really quickly. I love Fast Growing Trees. Many of you know that I got a red bud tree that I planted near my home in Virginia from fastgrowingtrees.com, and it is gorgeous. I can't wait to see how it blooms next spring. That's the thing. I'm always looking forward to the big bloom season. It's going to be great, and that's courtesy of fastgrowingtrees.com. I love it. It's been awesome, and you're going to love it too. It's great. So this fall, they've got the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners, viewers of this program get 15% off your purchase when using the code VINCE at checkout. That's 15% off your first purchase at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code VINCE at checkout. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Vince to save today. That's right, use me to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. All right. So let's get into some of these declassified disclosures, formerly classified, now declassified. Here's what we're learning. The FBI conducted an investigation into a number of leaks that were coming out of the agency back in August of 2017. And you remember, in this time frame, these were all of the leaks about Trump-Russia collusion. It was meant to try and hurt the president of the United States. So who's doing that? Who was behind all of the various leaks that were coming out of the FBI meant to distort the public consciousness about the president and his agenda? And the FBI launched some sort of investigation into that in 2017. It's not the first time we've heard this name, but it's certainly the first time we've gotten a lot of detail about this investigation. And it was called Arctic Haze. Arctic Haze was the name of the leak investigation in late 2017. And the FBI based this investigation on the fact that there were a number of reports in a bunch of the big news outlets that contained classified information that should not be in public. In fact, the New York Times was running information that was supposed to be considered classified. The Washington Post was publishing information that was supposed to be considered classified. The Wall Street Journal, CNN implicated in all of this. Each of these big legacy news outlets were being fed some sort of narrative from people within the agency, from within the FBI, designed to try and attack President Trump. And the headlines on these articles included things like the New York Times insisting that, quote, Comey tried to shield the FBI from politics, and then he shaped an election. That was the early kind of claims that, oh, Comey was the reason that Hillary lost, not that Hillary sucked at politics and nobody liked her. There's also a Washington Post story that came out at the time that was titled, New Details Emerge About 2014 Russian Hack of the State Department. It was hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. Another from the Washington Post, May 2017, how a dubious Russian document influenced the FBI's handling of the Clinton probe. And then the Wall Street Journal ran a story in late May 2017 called The Trump-Russia Story Starts Making Sense. Of course, it never made sense. But these were leaks from within the FBI designed to slant the media's coverage. And so those four stories that I just mentioned to you, in particular, kicked off this leak investigation at the FBI that we now know as Arctic Haze. Our friend, reporter, John Solomon has been doing great work, as always. And he's got a new piece on the subject today about James Comey and company. And he writes that Comey's media mole told the FBI that he shaped the Russia narrative and it needed to discount the fact that he was in his denial that he was leaking intel. This is a weird turn of phrase, but basically Comey's hand-picked leaker was talking to FBI agents, interviewed about all of this. And he's like, I don't think I leaked classified information, but maybe I leaked classified information. Hard to remember. What exactly does that mean? You either did or you didn't. The FBI concluded numerous legacy news media stories that crafted the false Russia collusion narrative contained illegally leaked classified intelligence. But they failed to definitively identify the leakers. Oh, that's too bad. It's just so hard to identify these leakers. The FBI just can't figure it out. But agents did force a stunning admission that ex-FBI Director James Comey used a special conduit to the Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times in his bid to polish his image and push for a special prosecutor to take down President Donald Trump. Now, you have not, you've heard this name before I'm about to share with you. This is Columbia University law professor Daniel Richman. I want to remind you, Daniel Richman is the guy that James Comey gave all of his classified memos to. Remember, Comey had meetings with President Trump in 2017, and he began to memorialize all of his conversations with the president as the sitting director of the FBI. Meaning he was taking notes of a one-on-one conversation with the chief executive of our country. And then what he did was, after he was fired, he leaked all of these memos to the New York Times by the way of his Columbia University law professor friend, Daniel Richman. Daniel Richman's the guy that he did it through. And he said, I just gave it to a friend, and he handed it off to the New York Times. I'm sorry. That is not personal product. That is work product that James Comey is just laundering out to the public in an effort to try and smear Trump. Oh, he asked me for loyalty, was what Comey was insisting. Of course, you should be loyal. There's no question about it. You shouldn't be freelancing. You should be following the chief executive of the United States, the duly elected representative of the people. As the FBI director, you don't get to just make it up. You're a part of the executive branch. It's in our Constitution, despite what James Comey wants you to believe. So Columbia University law professor Daniel Richman admitted to agents in interviews that he routinely communicated on behalf of Comey, his longtime friend, with New York Times reporter Michael Schmidt, whose work was among the newspaper's 2018 Pulitzer-winning stories on Russian election interference. Remember, the New York Times and all these other papers, they were getting Pulitzers for the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. And who was their source for all of this? Well, it was James Comey. Comey don't get it twisted. This is just like, we talk about Hillary Clinton cooking up the Steele dossier. Ultimately, yes. Is there a chain of custody between Hillary Clinton and the Steele and Christopher Steele? No question about it at all. You had Hillary Clinton hiring Mark Elias, who hired Fusion GPS, who then turned to Christopher Steele, and that's how all of that was put together. But the point of it was to cook up fake Trump-Russia collusion claims about the president of the United States, the soon-to-be president of the United States. And here in this case is James Comey leaking to the New York Times, who got a Pulitzer for a bullshit story about Trump colluding with the Russians. That's what's happening here. So Daniel Richman is the conduit for James Comey's dastardly behavior. He's talking to Michael Schmidt. The goal, Richman told the FBI, was to, quote, correct stories critical of Comey, the FBI, and to shape future press coverage outside of the Bureau's official press office, according to internal FBI memos that the current director, Kash Patel, just delivered to Congress this week. You know something? I want you to pay attention to this because I think this is going to come back and mean a lot to the rest of us. The fact that Kash Patel is still digging up information on James Comey and still providing it to Congress right now means that Comey, as far as I can tell, seems very much to be in the hot seat here. That the Comey and Brennan, those are the two, I think, who have stood out the most as having the most culpability here. Comey's deceit, Comey's lies, you get a very clear sense that this is all catching up with him. And he can do all the shell art he wants on the beach about how much he hates Donald Trump, and he can do all the games of pretend and all of the MSNBC hits he wants where he pretends like he was the good guy, that he was following all the rules. But the track record on Comey is one of lies, deceit, and just outright disdain for the Constitution and the rules of this country and for the President of the United States. So here he is again. According to documents just released by Kash Patel, who's hot on Comey's trail, saying, guys, he was straight up leaking classified information and shaping the public narrative about the Trump administration as the director of the FBI through this guy, Daniel Richman. While Richman was known to have been publicly quoted in news stories as an advocate for Comey, he admitted to agents who were part of the FBI's Arctic Haze classified leaks inquiry that he was given access by Comey to what turned out to be highly classified information up to the SCI level, and sometimes provided information to reporters on an anonymous basis. Richman insisted he did not believe that he had either confirmed or provided classified intelligence. I'm not sure. Are you serious? You're not sure? I don't know. But he said he couldn't be 100%, the memo state, noting that he could only make his leak denial, quote, with a discount. With a discount. Richman was pretty sure he didn't confirm the classified information. However, Richman told the interviewing agents he was sure, with a discount, that he did not tell Schmidt about the classified information. One FBI memo recounted. In the end, the Justice Department decided not to pursue criminal charges against Comey or any of his lieutenants, or now Senator Adam Schiff, despite potential evidence of leaks, saying it could not be certain of who leaked what and when. So you can thank Director Wray for that arrangement. Chris Wray decided, no reason to go after him. No prosecution to do here. And the scandal continues. All right, so we're getting a lot of information out about Comey. We get a lot of information about this guy. This guy, Richman, he was brought in as a special government employee. Comey brought him into the government, gave him access to classified information, and then he turned around, and according to this coverage, and according to the FBI, he was just freelancing. He was just going out, talking to reporters, places like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, CNN, feeding them information. Information, in some cases, it looks like it turned out it was classified information, and then nobody was ever held accountable for this. Nobody was held accountable for this. And this is the first time you and I get to know the details of how this entire scheme was going down. It's only because Kash Patel arrived. Christopher Wray didn't share this with you. Christopher Wray didn't refer this for criminal prosecution. No, it's Kash Patel who's doing that work right now. No doubt with his deputy, Dan Bongino, doing that work as we speak. So all of that information is being leaked to these major newspapers. And of course, Comey's already admitted that he orchestrated these leaks to the New York Times, the leaks about the Trump memos. He already admitted as much. Now, that brings us to the guy you just heard about a moment ago, too, Senator Adam Schiff, previously Congressman Adam Schiff, who unfortunately was given a promotion by the insane people of California. Not everybody in California is insane, but the insane ones chose Adam Schiff. And so Adam Schiff, it turns out, is all about leaking classified intelligence. It's kind of his entire reason for existence. A whistleblower has come out now saying that Adam Schiff was urging the people who work for him on the House Intel Committee to leak classified information to the press. Get it out there. And this is yet again, my congratulations, by the way, to John Solomon and Jerry Dunleavy at Just the News. This is really big stuff that they've got this week. A Democrat whistleblower told the FBI, that Adam Schiff was okaying leaking classified intelligence to hurt Trump. Get it out there to hurt the president. A career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade repeatedly warned the FBI beginning in 2017 that then Representative Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear the then president Donald Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal, according to bombshell FBI memos that Director Kash Patel has turned over to Congress. For those of you who not nobody in this audience, I would say, but for those people who are out there that you've heard from, oh, the FBI is not doing anything. Well, hell, all I see is the FBI doing everything. Kash Patel is getting every last piece of information out here. The FBI doesn't prosecute. The FBI investigates. And so the FBI is investigating this. They're finding all of this deeply damaging information about the left's abuses of power. They're putting them out there in public. And so what is that for the rest of us to do? Well, the rest of us can then turn around and we can browbeat the Justice Department into submission here to get prosecutions underway. They're making this public for two reasons, as far as I can tell. One is transparency, which you and I demand. And two is to create public pressure to get prosecutions on people like Adam Schiff, on people like James Comey, and on people like Eric Swalwell. I'll get to him in just a moment. But Schiff was a leaker. Now, this won't come as a surprise to you, but this whistleblower is straight up saying that while working in this capacity, that is with the House Intel Committee and Adam Schiff, this whistleblower was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff, the interview said. Quote, in this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict the president. Well, how about that? So the whistleblower contends that inside of this meeting, that Schiff straight up told everybody in the room to break the law and that would be used to indict the president. Break the law, that's going to be used to take down President Trump. We're going to indict him using this strategy. The whistleblower told investigators that he raised this point. He goes, that's illegal. He stated that this would be illegal. And upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured him that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Notice that they didn't assure him that, no, it's entirely legal. Notice that they didn't bother to say, oh yeah, we can do this. This is a congressional committee. We have extraordinary abilities to release this information. This is all on the up and up. No, what the whistleblower was told is, don't worry, we won't be caught leaking this information. We won't be caught. Does that work in your house? Are your kids allowed to break the rules so long as they're not caught? Well, if you're not caught, then it never happened. That's Adam Schiff thinking. That's criminal thinking that you have going on here. The staffer made similar claims to agents in the FBI's Washington field office as early as 2017, shortly after Trump took office for his first term. So in a 2023 interview and a 2017 interview, he said the same things. Okay? So what that means is he told FBI agents in a capacity where he could be held accountable if he's lying. That's you don't chat. Is it a crime to lie to an FBI agent? I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. You tell me, is it a crime to lie to an FBI agent? You just give me a quick answer on that, would you? So I can drink this coffee. I'll let you handle the show from here. Hold up. Let's see. Let's see if the chat thinks it's a crime. Is it a crime? Yes, 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 yes. I'm seeing some yeses coming through. All right, thank you, counselor. Okay, so it would be a crime to lie to the FBI. So the whistleblower is telling FBI agents over and over and over again that Adam Schiff was requiring his staff to do something illegal, to leak classified information to the press in an effort to induce an indictment of the president of the United States. So in other words, and this guy is from the intel community. It's not like he doesn't know the stakes. He knows the stakes here. He knows what risk, what peril he's putting himself in if he makes this up. So I think it's safe to say, without knowing exactly who it is, but I think it's safe to assume this person is telling the truth. This is a very high stakes conversation for him to be having. And he has it, and he says, Adam Schiff is lying. Now, here's what I would like to see. You remember what they did to Mike Flynn? You remember what James Comey did to Mike Flynn? When Mike Flynn arrived as the National Security Advisor, Comey said, let's just send a couple of agents over. We'll question them. And they did. They sent a couple of FBI agents over. And Mike Flynn, being the newly arrived National Security Advisor, he took the meeting because he said, what's the harm? These are a bunch of government employees. I'll just chat with them. They're colleagues, in other words. I'll chat with them and then send them on their way. And he did. And then the United States Justice Department, the FBI, they turned this into James Comey, into a massive takedown operation of Mike Flynn. Oh, he lied to the FBI. And they started going after Flynn and destroying his life. So here's what I suggest. Send a couple of agents over. Have them talk to Adam Schiff. Have them talk to everybody on that House Intel Committee at the time. Have everybody testify to what they knew and when. Just have them answer some questions. And if they're lying, guess what the statute of limitations is on a crime that was committed earlier today? Well, it's quite a bit of ways from now, isn't it? Yeah. Get them. Send some people over, talk to these guys, and get them to either tell the truth or go ahead, perjure yourself. Commit a crime by lying to an FBI agent. Maybe send a couple of agents over. It could be good. More in a moment on what Adam Schiff thought was going to happen when Hillary Clinton became president of the United States. You're going to love this. And I've got updates on Eric Fang Swalwell as well. They're all inside of these documents. So I'll get to them ahead on this edition of Vince. Let me thank our great sponsors who make all of this possible. Could the continued divide between Trump and the Federal Reserve put us behind the curve? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time? Or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown? And what could this mean for your savings? Well, consider diversifying with gold through Birch Gold Group. For decades, gold has been viewed as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, and high inflation. And Birch Gold makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. If you have an IRA or an old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to keep in your safe. First, get educated. Birch Gold is going to send you a free information kit on gold. Just text my name, Vince, to the number 989898. Again, text Vince to 989898. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. That way, if the Fed can't stay ahead of the curve for the country, well, at least you can stay ahead of it for yourself. Data and message rates apply. Our thanks to Birch Gold for being awesome, for sponsoring the program. Yeah. No, he's... Somebody points out Schiff can't plead the fifth. He got a pardon. Yes, he did. He got a pardon. So just send some people over. Question him. Question him. Let's see what's going on. Don't lie to the FBI, Adam. Don't lie. Now, Adam Schiff, you should know, is, well, he's a crazy person. But he was very convinced Hillary Clinton was going to win. He was doing everything he could to affect that outcome. And in fact, he was so convinced of it. Take a look here if you'd like. This is the New York Post, for those of you watching on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince. The New York Post headline on this subject. They say Adam Schiff approved intel leaks to smear Trump and thought that he would be the CIA chief if Hillary Clinton won. Schiff thought that he would run the entire CIA. And perhaps that was some degree of confidence that if Hillary Clinton won, maybe she had already promised Adam Schiff that he'd be the guy, that he would run the Central Intelligence Agency. Senator Adam Schiff, then the top Democrat of the House Intel Committee, authorized these leaks, having assumed he would lead the CIA in a Hillary Clinton administration, according to the whistleblower. The unidentified male source, who worked as a Democrat staffer on the House Intel Committee for 12 years after more than 2 decades in the intel community, told FBI agents in December of 2017 that the mood among the panel became, quote, indescribable after Trump's upset win the year before. Ranking member Schiff was particularly upset, as he had believed he would have been appointed as the director of the CIA had Hillary Clinton won the election, according to a summary of the interview obtained by the New York Post. The same whistleblower in September 2017 said that he heard from congressional staff colleagues around October of 2016 that Schiff would be offered the CIA job if Clinton had won. After Trump won instead, the September 2017 interview summary said that Schiff, quote, Schiff believed Russia hijacked the election and the United States was in the middle of a constitutional crisis as he's leaking classified information to stop a presidential candidate and then to subsequently take down the president of the United States. It's a constitutional crisis, says the guy who's starting constitutional crises. Classified information began leaking to the media. The Democrat minority leadership of the Intel Committee was aware of the leaks, but was under the impression that leaking the information was one way to topple the administration and fix the constitutional crisis. Can you imagine if Hillary Clinton, first of all, if Hillary Clinton had won, but could you imagine if she had made Adam Schiff the CIA director? You think John Brennan is a tyrant? Just imagine Adam Schiff in that role. That would have been an unmitigated disaster. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Trump voters, for preventing that from happening. I mean, it's bad enough that he's a senator now, but imagine CIA director pencil neck. Would have been awful. Yeah. And then there's some other juicy details from these documents that we get from our buddy Kash Patel. Kash, these declassified documents from these whistleblowers also reveal that Eric Swalwell was particularly reckless with classified information. Now, by now, you may not be surprised by that because Eric Swalwell bang, banged Fang Fang, and as a result, was apparently giving up all sorts of important information to a Chinese spy. So he has a reputation for being a little loose with, his operational security, so to speak. And here we have on page 10 of the documents that have just been put out. Let's see if I can show this to you. Eric Swalwell comes up. Good old Eric Swalwell. What a goober that dude is. All right, so here's what they say. In or around April 2017, their whistleblower had become very uncomfortable with the rampant leaking, and having already raised the issue with apparently a superior of some kind, he contacted Redacted, who previously served as the Redacted's Inspector General. And they talked about Eric Swalwell and how quickly information had been leaked as a result of Eric Swalwell viewing it. Within 24 hours, information that had been looked at by Schiff and Swalwell appeared in the news almost verbatim. And so Redacted officials descended on the House Intel Committee's offices, threatening to stop providing information unless the leaking ended. Someone suspected that Swalwell played the role in the leak and noted that Swalwell previously had been warned to be careful because he had a reputation for leaking classified information. Yes, the Fang Fang story does establish a reputation for leaking classified information. I would say that. They were very concerned about this. Now, furthermore, in these documents, they go on to say that Swalwell in particular was a guy who was considered routinely the guy who was a problem. Someone, quote, noted that Swalwell has been the source of a lot of leaked information and had to be counseled to be more careful. So in case you're wondering, Who was leaking all that stuff? And to be crystal clear, you and I both assumed for years that it was Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. Now we have a whistleblower adding to the evidence and saying, yeah, it was Adam Schiff, it was Eric Swalwell, it was James Comey. It's exactly who you think it was. All of these people accusing President Trump of mishandling classified information, yeah, it was them. It was always projection. Always projection. Now they've got the Justice Department breathing down their necks. And it is so completely well-deserved. All right, in a moment, we'll be joined by the great Alex Marlow. We have a lot to talk about. Before we get there, I want to thank Blackout Coffee for sponsoring this program, proudly the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. And there's a reason for this. This is bold, unapologetic, America-first coffee, roasted fresh right here in the United States. It's not grocery store junk. You know, Blackout Coffee delivers rich, high-quality roasts that actually taste like freedom. And now you can set it and you can forget it with auto refill and recurring delivery. Now that means no more running out, no more watered down backups, just your favorite roast delivered fresh on your schedule. Pick your favorite roast, how often you want it delivered. Not only do you get a discount, but you also get double the rewards and free shipping to your doorstep. And let me just tell you, this is a delicious cup of coffee. I drink it black, so I know it's awesome. You're going to love it too. Here's what to do. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Whether you're into bold, dark roasts, flavored coffee, or even instant, Blackout's got your back. Real coffee, no compromise. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. You really should do it. Get yours now. Thank you to Blackout. And thank you also to Bone Charge, great company that is just a sincere and dedicated sponsor of this program, and they produce great products. The Bone Charge infrared sauna blanket and the red light face mask, huge difference makers in our house. I love the infrared sauna blanket. This thing is perfect. It's the way for you to have a sauna at home. You wrap yourself up in the infrared sauna blanket, and it helps you with muscle recovery and detoxification. Total game changer. I love it. I've noticed a real difference in my life, how I relax and how I rejuvenate. My wife, she loves the red light face mask. It's a real easy charge. The charge seems like it lasts forever. So every night she just puts this thing on, and it's been great for her. It helps improve your skin's texture, reduces inflammation, and she's seen fantastic results. It's like having a mini spa treatment right at home. So if you are thinking of trying these products out and supporting a great company, you're in luck. Head to BoneCharge, BONCharge.com. Use the code Vince at checkout, and you'll get 15% off. Both of these products have made such a positive impact on helping me and our wellness routines, and I'm sure you're going to love them too. Use the code Vince at BoneCharge.com to save 15%. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. All right. Well, I'm happy to say that joining us now is the editor-in-chief over at Breitbart. That's Alex Marlow. And fellas, can you put his information up for me? Because I want to make sure to share the book title and everything else. We've got the book is Breaking the Law. Perfect. He's also the host of the Alex Marlow Show. And Alex, always good to have you with me, sir. Appreciate you today.
Vince, same to you. Thanks for having me back. Always like talking to you.
So we've got a lot. I just went over all of this newly declassified information that Kash Patel is just churning out.
Yeah.
Alex, I am convinced that this is not merely a transparency initiative. This is the predicate to something much bigger. How are you feeling about all of this?
Exactly the same way. This is investigation season. That's how I've been branding it at Breitbart News. I've been doing a series of stories on this because I actually feel like there is this renewed effort with Kash and Dan. I think Pam is in a deep fear after the way the Epstein Files 1.0 was botched. Still waiting for that 2.0, just like the rest of you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a huge impetus. There's a big imperative to start bringing justice for all the wrongs that have been done to Donald Trump and his movement over the last 10 years. And it feels like some of this stuff, it does feel like things are serious. So we got to get stuff announced. I want to see everything announced. But then once things are announced, then you get some time. You get a couple of years to go through stuff, and a thorough accounting of all the wrongs done to Trump and his movement, I think will be a great way to also control the media narrative. So it's got this, it's not a double-edged sword. It's like a sword with like two different prongs that are both going to stab bad guys at the same time, because we're going to control the media narrative while we're holding people accountable. So I dig it so much.
To hear that Eric Swalwell, of all people, was reckless with classified information?
Absolutely shocked by that. Mr. Fang Fang himself. No, but it's fun to go through the Schiff stuff too, because I was thinking about it because we get the Dem whistleblower, which is
Yeah.
unbelievable, and it just looks like they really got him. And statute of limitations up, so I don't know criminally, but it just feels like to your point about how this could be a predicate for something. But the stuff that they had, Schiff basically seemed like he was just throwing stuff on the table to the media and saying, "Sure, be a shame if this stuff leaked out." And it just
Yeah.
seems so ham-fisted and ham-handed and arrogant. And that's why I love when the arrogant
Well,
guys.
if
That's
if
yeah.
it
Go
gets
ahead.
to the point, though, I'm sorry, but if it gets to the point where the whistleblower stands up in the meeting and goes, "Guys, what you're suggesting is illegal,"
Yeah.
and then the answer is, "Don't worry, we won't be caught," that's that's about as open and shut as it gets, don't you think?
Yeah, it looks like there's a movie called Role Models from about 20 years ago, which is it's R-rated, but it's a hilarious movie. And there's a scene where there's an attorney and she's meeting with her client, and she's suggesting he takes a plea deal, and he says, "No, I'm innocent. There's no evidence against me." And she shows him a video of him on security camera saying, "Look at me stealing TVs." I mean, that's how this feels right now. It feels like we got him so nailed. So I would like to see the handcuffs and perp walks, but at a minimum, these
Yes.
people need to be front and center in the news the same way President Trump and anyone who supported President Trump was for a very long time. But Schiff is so strange. I'm out here in California. He's totally deluded. He might be the one guy left on earth who actually believes that the Russia collusion hoax happens. He might be the last guy who actually genuinely believes it. Kind of like how people thought OJ thought that he didn't commit the murders, like by the end, like maybe he did it, but then he convinced himself he hadn't by the end of the trial. That's Schiff with Russiagate. He's that nuts.
Yeah, he certainly seems like it. What would have happened if he had actually become the CIA director, do you think?
I don't know, but one last point I want to make just on the revelations is that, and I don't use this word, and I detest when Democrats do, unless this is dead serious. But if he was intentionally leaking this stuff to undermine the president, there's only one word
Yes.
for that, Vince. There's only one word for it. It's treason. That's what it is, and there's very
Yes.
severe penalties for that. But we can't be afraid of exploring that option in the sense that this is literally treason, and we know that's what they were doing. They were trying to subvert our democracy, subvert the will of the voters, subvert the president of the United States, who's trying to lead the free world with a hoax, which is a known hoax. And so this is a look, the legal thing, the legal system's got to do its thing in this regard. I'm not an attorney, which is very convenient in moments like this, but this stuff is really, really bad that's out there. And rope them all in, rope in Swalwell. And it just shows you that this could have been a possibility that a guy like this could have led our CIA. Shows us that our biggest threat, as we've always known, as this audience knows as well as any, is from within right now.
You may not be an attorney, but you're insightful enough and you pay close enough attention to know what the legal ramifications are for a lot of this. Because on Adam Schiff and separately on Letitia James, there are grand juries being impaneled, and there's an effort being led at the direction of Pam Bondi by Ed Martin, who's a genuine patriot who
He's right.
genuinely wants justice here.
We love Ed.
If you are Adam Schiff or Letitia James right now, how nervous are you about this?
I can't speak to Schiff because he is so nuts. Like that little pencil neck is just such an odd guy. I have no idea what he's thinking right now. I mean, he just might be farting in bathtubs this morning, just amusing himself that way. Like I honestly have no idea. But with Tish James, she's in big trouble because it's not just the mortgage stuff. The mortgage stuff's fun, and it looks like they got her dead the rights on mortgage fraud. And also, that was what she essentially had accused Trump of doing, of overvaluing properties in order to secure favorable loans. And so there's something very poetic and juicy about that. But what I've been reporting at Breitbart, and this is a big subject of breaking the law, where I do a deep dive into all of the major cases against President Trump. Tish James engaged in election interference with her targeted prosecution of Donald Trump. And this is something that is absolutely, there was an investigation of all the people I document in the book, and I call for about a dozen investigations. She's clearly number one because her attacks on Trump, they were targeted, they were on purpose. She stretched the law and used charitably called novel legal approaches, but it's really stuff that was illegal in order to try to harass him. Remember, this was a victimless crime. And she was essentially saying that Trump had fleeced these banks. These banks did not feel fleeced. She still brought this case in civil court, but treated Trump like a criminal the whole time and assessed him a cruel and unusual, completely outrageous $460 million penalty. This case, Trump still has a $175 million bond up right now. So $175 million. Vince, I know you're doing well these days, but could you picture having $175 million of your money on the hook in New York right now while you're supposed to lead the free world? That's not fair. And that's not something a president should endure. And he's enduring it now. It's not over. This is still happening right now with Tish James. And it's all because she wanted to take him out politically. So she is in big trouble and good.
Yeah, rightfully so. And these grand juries are not constrained to some sort of limited topic. This could get out of control very quickly for Letitia James.
I love this point because this is why the investigations matter, and how the left has been using them against us is so important, is because you get these things where you start investigating one thing and then more things come up. The grand jury is going to have such a wide berth when it comes to investigating her. We have no idea what she's going to uncover and who else is going to get caught in the dragnet. There's a perfect example of this that I go through in Breaking the Law, which is the one criminal conviction case, the Stormy Daniels case. Not a hush money case. Hush money's not illegal, and that was not the issue. The issue was business records and allegedly falsifying business records. This all came from Michael Cohen. Okay, well, how did Michael Cohen, who is the key witness, provide the key evidence in the case? The only reason why people were looking into Cohen is because of the phony Russian collusion hoax, where the DOJ and the Mueller special counsel got access to Cohen's Gmail. So if there was no phony Russian collusion hoax, then there would have been no criminal conviction, no convicted felon branding, and that whole news cycle never would have happened, aside from the left threw out that dragnet and got Trump in it via Cohen.
And also, that was another case of projection, because the left accused Trump of classifying an election meddling operation as a legal expense. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton legitimately conducted an election meddling operation through the Steele dossier and classified it as a legal expense because of her payments to Mark Elias. It was every single time. Every single time it is projection. I mean, this is just the news in the last 24 hours, which is that the Democrats were straight up leaking, mishandling, to include James Comey, who's quite obviously smuggling classified information to the New York Times through his professor buddy. And then we get all of these lectures about how, it's Trump who's mishandling classified information. Trump is the president of the United States. None of the rest of these goons were.
Yeah, that's right. And it feels like if we want to have a system of justice that's supposed to be blind and impartial, then it feels like there should be a universal thing that we should be able to get behind a person who is elected to be the most powerful legal person in a major state, and to go after the most famous, most wealthy person in the state, and then to assess him cruel and unusual financial penalties for a victimless crime. This should be something that maybe you look at a Venezuela or Brazil and you see this stuff. You should not be seeing this in the United States of America. And this is where I'm asking people to take a step back and to understand that the two tiers of justice, that Hillary Clinton can have a server with classified documents in a bathroom in Colorado, and then Donald Trump, who could have classified documents at any moment, has to get harassed for 18 months because he took some home when he could have waved a magic wand just to classify it. That is not two tiers of justice. It's actually three tiers, Vince. You get the tier for some of us. You've got the Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper tier, where by breaking the law, you get book deals and you get MSNBC contributorships. And then you got what happened to Trump and his supporters, where they're just trying to make his life a living hell, just simply because he's got politics they don't like.
I'm not dissatisfied with the FBI right now. I'm very pleased with the FBI and the pace at which they're moving. But I will say, and I said earlier in the program, that I do think might be nice to send a couple of FBI agents over to question Adam Schiff and everybody around him. Just ask them, were you mishandling classified information? How was that going down? Because remember the move that James Comey pulled on Mike Flynn. They sent FBI agents over just a couple of guys over just to question him. And then they got him caught in a net. They made it seem like, he lied to the FBI. We need to get him to plead guilty. And then they overturned his life. So if that's good for people who didn't do anything wrong, well, I think it's good for people who did do something wrong. Why don't we send a couple of guys over?
That's exactly how the approach that we must take. And I know that audiences like yours and like Dan's, they're going to demand it, and people are going to be deeply dissatisfied if this doesn't happen. And I want to see the literal accountability. I want to see some people in handcuffs. That would be terrific. But at a bare minimum, we need to cast these dragnets out, because what I thought when I saw the rundown of the latest Shift revelations from this whistleblower, I think I went to the same place as you, is what else they got. They got to have a mountain of stuff. And now we've got a predicate to start digging.
I'd be very careful if I was any of these guys about what I say in public right now, because I don't think the FBI is anywhere near done sharing information with the rest of us. It's big. All right, Alex Marlow, you're great. I always appreciate you. And the book is Breaking the Law, and the show is the Alex Marlow Show, and the website's Breitbart News, where he's been running it for years. Alex, nice to talk to you today, sir.
Vince, always a pleasure. Hope to do it again soon.
Thank you very much. There he is, Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief over at Breitbart News. Okay, let me share something else with you that I think is important, interesting about Adam Schiff's culpability here. What kind of trouble he could be in. Benny Johnson, who, by the way, thanks, Benny, for raiding the radio show yesterday. We got a big Benny Johnson raid on the Rumble stream of the radio show yesterday. So we appreciate that. The whole audience appreciates that. Here is Benny Johnson talking to former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman in the last 24 hours about Adam Schiff and the world of hurt he could be finding himself in very soon. Take a listen to this.
Every American would say, yeah, absolutely, you shouldn't leak classified information. We don't want that to be something that you can do or get away with. Or if there's a temptation to do that and get paid for it, then the penalties should be very severe. So can you talk me through, like, what would the penalties look like for an average individual leaking classified information?
Yeah, I mean, the fine is up to $250,000 for every leak that's charged. So it depends on the counts in the indictment. Also, keep in mind, some of the punishment hinges on the purpose that the classified leak or the possession of classified documentation illegally. So the purpose becomes very important. If you'll recall,
and the purpose here is to indict Trump.
Comey, when he said no prosecutor would prosecute Hillary Clinton for having classified information. I mean, it was just an outright lie. But there was always this question, this debate. What was the purpose of it? Was it just sloppiness? Same with Joe Biden. Was it sloppiness that he had all of these, that he used the classified documents to write his memoirs? Was there anything truly nefarious about it?
And the whistleblower again says that it is Schiff's intention to indict Trump with this classified leaking.
Some analysis of Donald Trump. But with President Trump, it was just, you had him, we're going to go after you because that's how we're going to apply the law. But in reality, you have to look at the purpose to see whether or not there are aggravating factors. Here, I believe this was, in essence, the beginning of a conspiracy to take down a president, to impact his ability to lead. There are other statutes, conspiracy statutes, interference with, official proceedings, et cetera.
Yep.
There's question. A lot of people have question about.
And the conspiracy consideration here means that the statute of limitations stretches on much further.
Treason, is it treason? You probably don't satisfy the elements for treason, but there are some related crimes that could come into play. And if you found that the individual was doing it in an effort to undermine the United States, you're looking at potential penalties of up to 20 years in federal prison.
20 years in federal prison. Brett Tolman, not a crazy person, not making it up, former U.S. attorney, assessing here the available evidence and saying, this don't look good for Adam Schiff. This don't look good at all. So, Shiff, you're on notice. You do see Swalwell is hoping that the attention he's receiving right now is going to make him more famous or something. He is so tragically stupid. It's at this point, it's just sad. Here's what he had to say. More bullshit in service to Trump to try and keep me quiet. Come get me, Cash. This Trump stooge long ago put me at the top of his book's enemies list. This nonsense is just more of that. I won't be silent. Cash Patel has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever here. Just, can we send Cash personally to put handcuffs on Eric Swalwell? And as Swalwell is, crapping his diaper as they bring him off. Oh, I love it. But Swalwell is hoping, honestly, he's the only reason he's tweeting about this. He's like, look at me, I'm in the news. You sure are, dummy. You sure are. That's Eric Swalwell. Yeah, go get that clown, Cash, says Dr. Edwards. I think that would be absolutely wonderful. Okay, we got a couple things going on in Washington, D.C. that I want to get to. I just played a clip for you from Benny Johnson. Benny actually went over to the White House yesterday and was one of the guys. He was the guy who got to ask the first question in the White House press briefing. Cut 3. The critical question from Benny Johnson to the White House yesterday.
Quick follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here.
Is Big Balls going to get the Medal of Freedom? I sure hope he does. By the way, Justin, I don't know what you're showing right now. Justin, I think you've muted the audio that's being sent to me, which means I couldn't hear the clip, but that's okay. Things like this happen. That was great, though. I love that moment yesterday at the White House. Big Balls. Will he get the Medal of Freedom? Well, the White House is considering it. The press hates all of this. They don't like that Big Balls is a hero. They don't like that Benny Johnson got a question at the White House. They don't like Caroline Leavitt taking him seriously. They don't like the idea that the Medal of Freedom could be given to an American who defended his woman from a mob of insane people attacking in the nation's capital. They don't like any of that, which means I like it even more. I'm very happy with it. So there you go. That's legitimate. Also, while we're on the discussion of who should receive the Medal of Freedom, there's been an effort to raise the name Thomas Sowell to get a Medal of Freedom. Boy, talk about a guy who deserves it. The economist Thomas Sowell, Medal of Freedom before we don't have Thomas Sowell anymore. He's very elderly. So perhaps Big Balls and Thomas Sowell could both receive Medals of Freedom soon. That would be good. You know, the left likes to give out Medals of Freedom to people who don't deserve them. Normal people deserve them. Normal people who do great things in the country and inspire the rest of us. They deserve them. I would like to see that. Yes, Thomas Sowell is a national treasure. I completely agree with that. All right. So that's what we have. But the reason Big Balls is coming up is because of the crime in D.C. Big Balls was attacked. And yesterday, Caroline Leavitt did offer this update on what's going on with D.C. crime. Cut 1. Take a look here.
The D.C. Police Department and mobilized the D.C. National Guard to end violent crime in our nation's capital. As part of the president's massive law enforcement surge, last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort.
You know, the thing, as vile as the crimes are that she listed out in many cases, there's one that really stood out to me, and it's kind of maybe technically the smallest crime that she announced. Fare evasion. Fare evasion. Now, in Washington, D.C., there's a subway system. It's called the Metro, the D.C. Metro. And that system, for years now, you've had people who, rather than pay the fare, they just jump the turnstile. Like, well, I'm not going to pay, and nobody's going to hold me accountable. So they jump the turnstile. And what that creates is a culture of complete lawlessness. Absolute lawlessness. And this goes back to Rudy Giuliani and broken windows and Bill Bratton in New York. The basic theory here is if you allow the small crimes to occur, if you allow the little stuff to happen, it creates a permission structure for the big and much more dangerous stuff to take place. It diminishes the quality of your neighborhood. It conveys that lawlessness is kind of the way that life can be conducted. And as a result, people do commit more crimes. And if they're held accountable early, if they get a sense of a taste of justice early, where the penalties are in fact even smaller and lower, people begin to realize, well, wait a second, there are consequences for my actions. So they stop before things become catastrophic. So yeah, is fare jumping going to destroy someone's life? No, but it will diminish your community such that more criminality will take place. So I like that they're enforcing fare jumping even, that the Trump administration is taking over the D.C. Police Department and saying, we're not even going to allow that. Jumping a turnstile? No, you're going to be held accountable. And then we're going to make an example of you at the White House press conference to let you know that people like you are going to be stopped from breaking the law. It's a huge deal. And so I'm glad to hear that. I was glad that was the thing that stood out to me the most, the fare jumping. God bless them for going after that. She also offered an update that there are a lot more arrests coming, and that over the next month, as the president runs the D.C. Police Department, he's going to be locking up a lot of bad guys. Take a look here.
This is only the beginning. Over the course of the next month, the Trump administration will relentlessly pursue and arrest every violent criminal in the district who breaks the law, undermines public safety, and endangers law-abiding Americans. President Trump will not be deterred by soft-on-crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets. He is going to make our nation's capital the most beautiful and safe city on earth, just as he promised on the campaign trail. Staying on the topic of public safety.
I love it. I just love it. You know, think about the president's success on the border. The media claimed that President Trump couldn't do it. We need a new law to do this. No, all we needed was a new president, is what Trump said. It turns out he was totally right about that. He just needs somebody who had the will and the resources to be able to pull it off, and he did. He used all of the available resources in the government. He just got some more passed through the big, beautiful law. That is one legal way. That's one new law that came through, but that was to bring in reinforcements, backups. The border was already locked down by the time the big, beautiful law was passed. Now he wants to build a sustainable, long-term border security system using the big, beautiful law. But he can do it. And in Washington, D.C., the president of the United States has extraordinary powers that he doesn't actually have in every other city in the country. There's a lot that he can do to help bring peace to our cities. But in particular in Washington, D.C., he has legal control of the D.C. Police Department if he wants it. So he took it. And he's doing it to restore our nation's capital to peace and beauty and prosperity. And if anybody can do it, it's Trump. If anybody can do it, it's this president of the United States. So I'm grateful that he's taken a swing at this, because I think he's going to succeed. I think he's going to make nice contact on it. And there's already evidence that that's happening. The U.S. attorney in D.C. is now former Judge Jeanine Pirro, former Fox News host. Yesterday, reporters were trying to tell her, actually, things are fine in this city. There's nothing going on here that's a problem. Jeanine Pirro, let's unleash this woman more, because I love when she smacks them down. Cut 3, here's Jeanine Pirro.
Hailing the drop in crime rates at the end of it. What changed?
It's never enough. This changed. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, oh, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. And that's why I fight the fight. Thank you.
Oh, man, I love competent people. I love competent people with aggression. That's really great. So Jeanine Pirro, the right person for the job. The U.S. attorney in D.C. is a super important job. It's not like every other U.S. attorney in the country. The D.C. U.S. attorney, her job includes prosecuting every adult that has handcuffs placed on them in the city. That's unusual for the U.S. attorney to do that. That's her job. Glad she's there. And here's the problem, though. When you have incompetent officials, well, then things become a lot worse. And in case you were wondering, the D.C. police chief, she didn't exactly advertise competence this week. The D.C. police chief was asked yesterday about what the new chain of command is with President Trump in charge of the police force. Cut 4, here's the D.C. police chief not understanding what the phrase chain of command means.
You will see Metropolitan Police Department working side by side with our federal partners in order to enforce the efforts that we need around the city.
Can you tell us what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear.
Oh my gosh, Muriel Bowser, the mayor, has to step in because the police chief doesn't know what a chain of command is. How did you become the police chief? I'm not even a cop. I know what a chain of command is. What does that mean? It means you shouldn't be in that job. It means this might explain why things are so bad right now. Thanks for joining us today on Vince. Always appreciate you being here. We've got another big episode ready to go for you for tomorrow. The big national radio show coming up 12 to 3 today. Look for your local listings at thevinceshow.com or go to rumble.com/Vince and you can watch us live. That's a good place to do it. Always appreciate you. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Up next, here on Rumble, well, Steven Crowder does this thing. Stand by for that.